We are back once again, Friday, October 7th, another day, another dollop of misery. JK, it's actually not that bad. I think we're at the point where we're doing this where it's just kind of like I don't even think about it anymore. Sometimes it's crazy. I'll be laying at night and I'll be like like did I make the video? And then I'll check my phone really quick to make sure I uploaded it and it's already done. So it's just really strange. So yeah, it's just really interesting. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. So to make sure I don't miss the video, because at some point, like, I can't even tell whether or not I've made the video, but I have made the video. So there might be a day where I didn't make the video. All right, we'll turn. Where I have made the video and where I haven't made the video and I didn't know. So that's a problem. That being the case, we have to figure out something about that. But we have some comments here today from the legend Aurelius. Maybe like Marcus Aurelius. Also, this icon is flames. This icon is just flames, and I'm going to reach out to you, Aurelius, about writing a screenplay for our upcoming show, and it's going to star this character. But Killing a Man, I enjoyed the 320% over. Cool discussion on upper boundary of skills. Hey, feel strong, man. Look out for an email. My people will be in touch. Yeah, this icon is really flames. I actually don't remember. I think we were talking about something with skills yesterday, but I don't exactly remember. I know it was definitely Kim Jong-gi related, which is an RIP. But yeah, just your artist's favorite artist is who he was, and that's just incredible. And yeah, I don't know if we'll ever get another person who's capable of just that level of composition. Like art, it's just incredible. Like I think I don't remember who told me this, but it definitely seems like along the way with all the technology that we've gotten to help with art creation, we definitely lost something along the way. For example, stuff like AI art. Anyone can create art now, and anyone always could create art because it was always pretty objective. But there's always a technical barrier that prevented, just regular people who also had ideas and their own things and things to say and substance, but they're, barricaded off from this great reward because of, technical skill. And it takes forever, and you might not even be able to get to the level of technical skill to ever be able to render something in your mind on paper. But I think that's part of the beauty, in a lot of this stuff. You never really get close because we're just trying to, make something. You try to convert something from your mind onto paper, and that those read or write errors, I heard someone say like that in that process of trying to get it on paper, whether it's writing, drawing, or something like that, is where like originality comes in, which is pretty cool. But yeah, even with accessibility, now that accessibility is so commonplace, I think we do lose something. I think it's a little different when we talk about stuff like technology and we get accessibility, but more accessibility. People always say is better. It's easier to create a website now than it ever was in the past, which is pretty cool. But I think there's a difference when it comes to that and drawing. Not to say that computer science is too different from art, because I don't necessarily think it is. I think both on a level where one might think one is more computationally intensive than the other. But I think in a certain angle or perspective of art, like when you're in like the top 5% or something like that, I think it's just way harder than computer science. And yeah, I think it's hard to explain why I think that, but I think there's just so many aspects to drawing, like spatial awareness. You're rendering a 3D space on a 2D plane. There's an illusion. There's also like style, genre, and there's color, which also has you could write 300 books just on RGB, and it's just really interesting. Yeah, it's just really interesting. But talking about the accessibility thing, talking about the accessibility thing. Yeah, I think with computer science, at least the answers most of the time can be sort of binary, and even in the top 5% of computer science / math, that's where things get like impossibly hard. Where people are using these like binary or logical structures to help prove, like with proofs or conjectures and all these things to try and that I think up there is where it really becomes like art. Like these people are actually like, they're taking all these disparate ideas, linking them together, and like in another sense creating like a new form or new level to the game. And I feel like at the top level of math and the top level of art, it's basically the same difficulty. So it's just very interesting. But yeah, with the accessibility on computer science and stuff like that, there are people who love programming, but usually they love like the mechanical aspect. Maybe it's the typing on the keyboard, maybe it's the editing text, maybe it's the slowly building something part. But I don't know if there's, I don't know for certain, but I would say there's a small minority that might exist to say, they feel like the actual act of programming is creative. They might feel like it's not strange to say that, but I don't think there's a lot of people who would say that. Whereas I think there are a lot of people who would think computer science or programming can be very creative, but not in the traditional aspect. Like I think it's a lot of like problem solving makes it creative, right? But you can't really solve a random problem in computer science. You're usually solving something that someone has created or an existing problem. Whereas like I'm getting lost in the sauce. Basically, what I'm saying is, by getting too specific, I'm losing the point. What I'm trying to say is that there's an accessibility on the path to accessibility, just because I think that art has particularly had a more like specific lens where it's like it can be used as pastime, but also, the height of skill is something something to aim for, right? It seems more like you do this, and as a result of doing this, you get like a long-term contentment. I'm not saying that's impossible with computer science, but on the act, I think, of learning to become that good, if you do something like AI art, you could churn through 100 ideas a day, 100 ideas an hour, maybe 200 ideas a day times a year times forever, and churn those ideas out. But I think even with the best models that will come out, we'll never be able to put what's on our head onto our paper. And I think maybe the bar will just be raised. Maybe more people will want to become artists to fix those things. But yeah, I guess what I'm trying to say is I think at the end, even though people can just create AI art instead of learning the technical skill, I think the long-term contentment comes from having the technical skill. Like they always say, like stuff like, life is valuable because it eventually ends, stuff like that. And I think this would be something similar where it's like you're trading something for this moment, right? You traded like 20 years of training or whatever, 10, 5, 10, to create this art piece that, might have been if it's regular enough, could have been created with AI art. But with AI art, I feel like all you kind of get is a dopamine hit. You don't really get the time invested. I feel like there's something missing there. Like maybe as humans we're coded to like trade something of value. It always feels better when you trade something. Like you want to give up something of so much value that when you get something in return for it, it feels like even if you don't get anything in return for it, I think there's just something about that it always feels like you want to trade something of value to get something back. But with AI art, and I think a lot of some of the accessibility stuff, because I also like AI art, but I think there is something that is lost. And yeah, well, yeah, I said stop it, get some help. Today your intro is 320% for 5 minutes. I forgot that I said that. Yeah, we need to stop. All right, yeah, I already went over again. We're already 9 minutes in, and I didn't even say anything of value. So stop it, get some value. Oh yeah, we got the 500 subs. That was all. Yeah, that feels strong, man. Feels strong. It's kind of hard to believe stuff like that has happened. Wait, so are you like more of a back end guy? Never see you doing your front end. What do you do anything about? It's going to school and help. Legit quit coding because of it. True. I don't really know where I am. I think honestly I might be leaning towards front end. At work, I think I do. My goal is to be as the best, well-rounded software person I could be. mostly because I wanted to create some stuff in my free time, and I was hoping that if I did that, it would, provide some value somewhere. And I was hoping, that would happen. But I feel like, honestly, now I'm thinking just specializing would be less stressful. And I think, honestly, I also think front end is just more fun. You can actually see what you're creating, and I tend to be very visual. But I also like systems. I like systems and puzzles. So back end tends to be pretty fun as well. But I think if I had to choose right now, I would definitely choose front end. Do you find interesting about back end? Personally, I did just a tad bit of SQL in school, legit quick. Because back end. I think back end is sometimes like a puzzle because you have all these systems, maybe models and relations that you have to kind of put together to make something. But it always depends. I think if the company's mature enough. I don't have a lot of experience, so I don't really know. But some of the places I worked, I feel like if the company's mature enough, then there's not many puzzles to solve. Or maybe if the role that you're in is not the puzzle guy or the puzzle person, then you don't really get to solve a lot of the interesting puzzles. Most of the time I was using some abstraction someone else built. So you never really get to be the puzzle person. But I think I said the other thing, not everyone deserves to be the puzzle person. I definitely didn't deserve it. So it's a lot of pressure. And if you don't make a good puzzle, then the abstraction, or you don't solve it well, the abstraction you create is just a mess. And that trickles all over the whole project. So that's a lot of pressure. And I don't know enough about it yet. So that is tough. But I don't know if back end is flames. I think I might be leaning more towards front end. Because I always feel like I can throw together a back end together for my project, especially with the system design stuff. But I feel like front end is the skill that's hard to acquire, that's useful, because every page you go to has a landing page, a beautifully designed landing page to help you drive engagement and get you to the pay button. And I feel like a lot of that stuff, you get to see more of that stuff in front end. So I'm kind of wishing I went a bit more of a front end route. But So I feel like the accessibility thing, I feel like I was going somewhere with that, but I can't remember. My brain is foggy. I just woke up and I'm already taking too long. The intro's already too long. Maybe I'll start planning these out a bit more, because I usually just go in blind off the dome and just speak what's on my mind. But sometimes I'll read something the day before and I'll be like, oh, that'd be cool to poll people and see what they think. But I'd be curious. If anyone gets to this part of the video, do you feel like we lose something when something becomes too accessible? Obviously, we're not talking about stuff like, education and other stuff like that. That stuff's always good when it becomes more accessible, but maybe there's a better way to ask the question. Do we lose something when something that was once difficult to achieve becomes trivial to achieve? Are we losing something? Maybe the journey? I don't know. We shall see. But we're going to jump into it today. We have 30 minutes. I'm going to do 30 minutes today just because we're a bit low on time. We're actually very, very low on time. And I have to be somewhere. I'm still struggling to make the earlier part work. But if I didn't have to be somewhere, we would do a longer session. But we're going to do a 30-minute session today. And I should get started now so as not to lose too much more time and show up late. So we shall get started. It is day 115, and we've solved quite a few problems. And now we're on binary watch and logger rate limiter. And we have more to do. And then I think tomorrow we're going to be doing the weekly contest. But I've been surprised to see that Easies have been giving us some good value. So, all right, I'm just going to jump into it. I'm wasting a lot of time. We're going to do 30 minutes. So, we're locking in. We are stuck on binary watch. I think we implemented a tree-based version of searching through the tree to generate all the permutations. But turned out to not be the case because, as we can see, some reason we don't have many different times. I don't understand why. I don't understand why that is. Or producing maybe just 4 times, which is really strange. And maybe it's the seen bits issue. I think it could be seen bits. No, because we're just making sure that we haven't seen the time before. It could be during calculation that we're messing things up. But if I check the puts, here we get hour is 3. There's no way hour is 3, so I think our thing is messed up. Yeah, because this would be 12. This would be 12. So I think our binary to base 10 might be off. I think one way to check that, actually we can just take a look at what's happening here. We're going from 1 to the length of the binary. So if the binary is 1001, we're going to go from 1 to 4. And then we're going to get a number starting at 1 going to 4. IDX is going to be equal to binary length minus offset, which is 1. So we're iterating in reverse. And power is going to start at 0. Say bit equals binary sub IDX dot 2i. Base 10 plus equal bit times 2 to the power. And so here we'll say, I want to think about this. I don't understand why printing it would help. If I'm looking at the code, I should be able to see why it's wrong. Power equals 10, base equals 10, 1 dot dot binary dot. I feel like this does work. Bit times. I see why this doesn't work. We never do power plus equal 1. Which is why we get 3. So now things are coming out correctly. We're getting 436. Because we'd have 32 plus 4, 434. So now we have a lot of time. Okay, so I wonder what we're missing. I think we're missing. Oh no, we have 07 with 3 turned on. So what's the difference here? I'm gonna return times dot reverse, and I think that should give us a better. Should be better let us tell with the diffing here. What's going on? So we got most of them, but we're missing 1201, 1202, basically much 12. Three, four, five, six. We're basically much missing 6 times. I wonder why that is. Missing 6 times. Which actually is strange because they're here. Are they not being added? If h is less than or equal to 12 and m is less than or equal to 60, this is strange. All the time that we're needing 1, 2, 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, 32 is apparently not in the time. Ranking versus unranking. Arrow, no idea. Times at reverse. So we're calling times. Times set to an array. We create a new hash. We permute times. Scene bits turned on 0 and empty string to start. Could comment this out, but I'm not exactly certain why that would matter. Now we just have oh god, I'm going so fast I'm not even thinking. It's not saying what is going on. It's not saying that we're missing those numbers. It's saying we have too many of them. 12, going past 12 is not a valid time because we're ignoring PM, which means that should be less than 12. And I think, pretty sure this should also be less than 60. Nice. Feels strong, man. I see. Alright, because 60 wouldn't be a valid time. You know what? Definitely not the worst implementation I've ever seen. Yeah, I understand why this has... Yeah, I understand now why this has so many dislikes. This is definitely not an easy problem. But I'm sure the solution is going to be trivial. What's the time complexity here? The tree I'm visiting. Doing an exhaustive search of a tree that at max can have a depth of turned on. Or a height of turned on. Actually, no, it can. That's definitely not the lowest height it can have. What's the lowest height this could have? No, yeah, I think it would have the maximum height of turned on. Because we'd have node 0, except we'd have an empty string to start. The node would come down as 0 and 1. And then from here you could have 0 or 1, 1. But eventually the path would have to be 8 nodes long. Or turned on nodes long, because that's as many. Oh, no, it has to be at max. It has to be at max 10 nodes long, because the maximum number of nodes, or the maximum number of bits, is 10 bits. So the height at max can be 10. If the trees at max height can only be 10, this might be one of those scenarios. To do an exhaustive search, I want to say it'd be 10 factorial. 10 factorial in time, or 10 factorial, which I guess would be constant time and constant space. Something feels wrong about that, though. We also don't have to reverse it. Something doesn't feel right about that. I would say it's either constant time and constant space, because the tree's height would max at 10, or it would be worse. would be 10 factorial. Just because I have how permutations work, it's usually just some number of factorial. So I want to say 10 factorial, which I guess would be a constant number anyway. Oh, there's no accepted solution. Constant min is equal to number sub j dot to string 2. If r dot split by 1 is dot length minus 1. So it equals the number of turned on bits. So it's going to turn the hour in the minimum 2 base 2 and split by 1. I didn't think of using 12 to 11 to 0 to 1159 as a proxy for binary or generating all the times. Char dot split 1 dot length minus 1 plus min dot split 1 dot length minus 1 equals turned on. Char dot split 1 dot length equals turned on. Then here you just convert, or they just convert the time. Just convert the time to 1. Yeah, this is a clever solution. This is really clever. I'm trying to figure out why, or I'm trying to calibrate as to why someone would choose to do it this way. What did I miss in the problem that meant it could be done this way? Maybe I latched onto the bits part too hard. Going over the numbers, by bounding it to the same numbers, we did the same thing by converting it to binary. Also, another thing I noticed with my version is that I don't think you needed seen bits at all. For some reason, there's just no duplicates. For some reason, there's just no duplicates. For some reason, there's just no duplicates. I don't understand why there'd be no duplicates. Maybe it's because the space we're going in is ordered. Yeah, I wish there was an actual solution to this one. 90% faster. Easy. Yeah, this was just IC going from 0 to 11 and 0 to 59, and just counting the bits in them together to see if they equal turned on. Yeah, I think I'll never forget this problem. I'll never forget this problem, so I'm glad we were able to figure it out. And I think I understand the solution. The solution is constant time, I think, because we're just iterating over 0 to 12 and 0 to 59, 0 to 11 and 0 to 59, which is a constant number of operations. Even though it's a lot of operations, it would be 12 times 60. Constant space as well. That is very interesting. It's very interesting. So here we have logger rate limiter. We only have 4 minutes or 5 minutes, so I'm just gonna see if we can understand the problem. Design a logger system that receives a stream of messages along with their timestamps. Design a logger system that receives a stream of messages. Design a logger system that receives a stream of messages along with their timestamps. Each unique message should only be printed at most every 10 seconds. Until messages from being printed until timestamp t plus equals 10. All messages will come in chronological order. Several messages may arrive at the same timestamp. Implement the logger class. Logger initializes the logger object. Bool should print message int timestamp string message return true if the message should be printed in the given timestamp. otherwise returns false. So we have logger. I have the example. Let's map that to. So we want to design a logger system that receives a stream of messages along with their timestamps. Stream of messages along with their timestamps. Each unique message, unique message should only be printed at most every 10 seconds. All messages will be in chronological order. Several messages may arrive at the same timestamp. So we have logger should print message. That's pretty much usually how they make the input for these things. Should we print the message 1, a timestamp with timestamp 1? Yes. Should we print the message at timestamp 2 with bar? Yes. Should we print it at 3 with foo? No. 8 with bar? No. 10 with foo? No. 11 with foo? True. I think you can just do this with a map. It'd be a map of type. So you can just do map equals new map of type string to number. And what we'll just say is if map dot has message and map.get timestamp for the message plus 10 if the if the first time we see the message, basically if the map has the message and we get the message, it'll store plus 10. So if timestamp is greater than map.getMessage, we'll say map.set or map dot, I don't know what the proper, it's like map dot set, or I'm sorry, this dot map. I didn't really think too much about this one. And the answer is definitely wrong. Okay, I think we can figure this one out just real quick. If I just slow down. Basically, we want to store a map of messages to timestamp. When we receive a message, we want to say, okay, this is when we received it, and this is when it should next be allowed to be shown. The problem is, though, if it's the first time we're seeing it, else if this dot map doesn't have the message, so if this dot map, basically this dot map doesn't have the message, right? Or it does have the message and the timestamp is greater than this dot map dot get message, then we'd like to set the message with timestamp plus 10 as the next possible time you can read or log the message and return true. Otherwise, you'd return false. So we print false. It looks like when we get to 11, they want us to be true. We're printing false. I think that's because I used greater than. Looks like we also want to be greater than or equal. Okay, so we'll wrap up there, and I think the time complexity of that would be constant time, because we're using a map with linear space if we assume that all the messages are unique. But we'll stop there. I have to dash, but we'll be back tomorrow with the weekly contest.